first thing I want to see is the PBI. I want to know what we're trying to build, what we're trying to achieve. And it will often look like this one, where it is just a title, no description, no acceptance criteria. And I mean, of course they're struggling, right? Not even God could figure this PBI out. Hey guys, Luke Cook for SSW TV. Today I want to talk about making sure every developer is set up for success going into a sprint by making sure that the PBIs coming in are well defined so that they have everything that they need to be able to complete the work and at the end of the sprint have a very happy product owner. So what I find a lot of the time is that junior devs will come to me and say, hey, I'm trying to do a particular feature or complete a particular PBI and I'm a bit stuck, can you give me some help? Say, sure, no worries. First thing I want to see is the PBI. I want to know what we're trying to build, what we're trying to achieve. And they'll open it up and it will often look like this one, where it is just a title, no description, no acceptance criteria. And I mean, of course they're struggling, right? Not even God could figure this PBI out. So it's really important for all devs, junior and senior, to protect themselves and the team from these really vague, ambiguous PBIs making it into the sprint. There are two main windows of opportunity to ensure that you can capture these PBIs, okay? The first one is backlog refinement, and the second one is sprint planning. Now, these are your two windows that you can, see these PBIs that are being discussed, and you can look at them and go, right, this is not ready to be brought into a sprint, right? It is not your fault for a PBI to be as empty as this, but it is your fault if you allow it onto that sprint board. So you need to stop when you see PBIs like this and go, hang on, time out, let's talk about this and make sure we have everything that we need before we can bring this into the sprint. And if the product owner isn't ready to do that or is unprepared, doesn't have the information, then you're quite within your right to say, we can't do this, it's not ready. Please leave it out, maybe we can tackle this next sprint once it's fleshed out. But for today, let's turn this PBI into something that might actually, have everything that we need to be able to bring it into a sprint and complete that work. So there are four main areas of a PBI that we need to focus on. The first is the description, typically in a, as a, I want, so that. The second one is the acceptance criteria, which is essentially the contract between you, the developer, and the product owner to meet the obligations that are intended in that description. And then the third and fourth are the estimate, how long it will take you to complete that work, and the business value, which is how important this piece of work is for the product owner. So with this one, add company contacts. Let's imagine that we're building a Northwind CRM here, and we're up to the stage where the product owner is like, great, we've got companies, that's fine. Now we need to be able to put people into those companies so that we can, track the contacts within it. Add company contacts, it's an okay title, but let's put some description in first. So we're going to use the as a I want so that format. We're going to go and say edit this description and put that in there. So as a business development manager, I want to add contacts to a company so that I know who I should talk to. Cool, that gives us the intent behind this, but we need some concrete objectives that we developers can build so that we know that everything that the product owner wanted in those three lines is captured. So let's go ahead and do that as well. Let's put some acceptance criteria in there and we can walk through and see how this really gives the developer the information they need to be able to do this task. So we'll go and drop that down and have a look. So for this acceptance criteria, we need an add button above the contact list. That add button will navigate to the add contact page. The contact form has got these fields, cool. First name, last name, mandatory. Input, email input has some basic validation. Let's see, save button disabled when the form is invalid. When it's clicked, it calls a predefined API endpoint. That's good to know. On successful save, navigate back to the company details, and on failed save, display error messages below the save button. It's actually quite a lot of information in that acceptance criteria. I would be very, very comfortable looking at this, but it's still not quite done, right? We have absolutely no idea what the design is meant to look like. We could go and build what we think is the prettiest, most functional contact form to us, And then we could show it to the product owner and they'd be like, no, that's not at all what I imagined. That's not what I wanted in my product. Go and do it again. So whenever possible, you want to make sure that you also have some sort of print screen, wireframe, sketch of any kind that provides even more information to remove that ambiguity. So we would then stop and go, great, thanks Mr. Product Owner or Mrs. Product Owner, we've got all of this acceptance criteria. What should it look like? And they might think, oh yeah, actually, we've got some sketches from this, designers did it, and they'll go dig those up and they'll show it to you. They're like, okay, great. So here's the company details page. We can see that that add button is, right aligned to the contact list. That's good to know. And then, if we move over, oh yep, there's the add contact form, and we can see it's got those fields. Now, one thing that I would immediately do is I would cross-reference this mock-up with the acceptance criteria. And what you can find here is that we've got first name, last name, phone, and email. But in that acceptance criteria, the product owner has now also asked us to capture the position of that person as well. And that's not reflected in this mock-up. So this is something where you'll be like, hey, look, obviously the position wasn't included when you did this. Where would you like that put in? And they would say, oh yeah, great. Maybe they want it between the last name and the phone. So you could just, I'll just add an arrow here with a little description, but you could even put a note in the PBI itself. So position there. And you would drop these straight into the PBI as well. Like do a screenshot. If they're actually JPEGs or what have you, bring them into. But you can see that going from just a title of add contacts to a full-blown PBI with a description and acceptance criteria, you now know the work that is expected of you when you bring this PBI in. And with all of this information, you're able to provide a much more accurate estimate. You're able to get to work straight away without sitting there scratching your head wondering what it should look like, what data it should capture. And you can provide that information back to the product owner so that they're able to add their business value to it. So maybe you would look at this and think, yeah, it'll take me about 2 days to do that. And they would think, yeah, that's great. My business value is quite high. I'm willing to spend those 2 days in this sprint to get this functionality. So you're happy, the product owner is happy, and at the end of that sprint, you should hopefully have some nice functionality to be able to add contacts to that company. I'm Luke Cook with SSW TV. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much.